Today, what we're going to do is discuss making offers. And what I want to explain to everybody really quickly is that you can go to Amazon and you can get these on Kindle and you could get them, right away. They're like $10. I recommend getting all three of his books, which is the $100 Million Models book. That one you guys can pick up a physical copy at the office. I have one for everybody if you haven't picked one up. But the $100 Million Offers was his first book. And then his other book is $100 Million Leads. Okay. So those three books I think are really valuable for you guys to pick up. And they're really going to be important for you to have access to because I do reference them in this training and the pages that we're talking about specific things. Okay. So this, the way that we're going to talk about making offers is very different than the context of making an offer on a house, but it's the same concept, right? When we try to improve our offer on a property, we set our price for our offer, and then we set the terms of the offer, and we try to make it the best that we possibly can. Everything from our interaction with the agent before, like setting the showing up, right? Reaching out to them, having a conversation, asking them what's important to the seller. After the showing, talking to them, letting them know that you shut everything off and everything's locked up, etc. Like that matters in your presentation, right? The way that you interacted with your client, right? Did you stand out? Did you do a good buyer consult? And do they believe that you are an expert in the field? That's going to affect, what price they're going to be willing to go up to based on your expertise, right? Because if you haven't really shown that you're an expert, and then they ask you, what do you think I should come in at? They're not going to really have a lot of weight on that, right? If you're like, well, this one's actually priced really low, we got to come in way over asking, they're not really going to trust that process, right? Your offer price, your terms, right? Your presentation to the offer to the listing realtor, how you do it, whether you summarize it in an email, you have a complete package with a pre-approval, proof of funds of the down payment, and then the contingencies, of course, right? All the terms, are you waiving appraisal? Are you waiving are you doing an appraisal gap? Are you doing an escalation clause? All those things, right? So you guys are familiar with making offers. That's my point. You're familiar with making offers. In this context, we're going to talk about how to make offers to get people interested in us, right? How to attract customers to us. And I don't think realtors are good at this. Okay, we're good at putting posts on social media about properties that we're doing, but we're not good at like making people offers. Like when's the last time you made an offer on an ad, for example, for a seller to contact you, right? Other than free CMA or, something like that. When's the last time you created an offer to get people to a first-time homebuyer webinar, right? And gave them, created lead magnets for them to download and have an incentive to show up and things like that. We are not really used to doing that. So in the context of the Hormozi trainings, he's typically talking about making an offer to sell something. Well, we're making an offer to attract customers, get them, to our landing page, get them to opt in, so then we could book that appointment, because we obviously don't get paid upfront, right? We don't get paid if a seller or buyer contact us, we're not really selling them anything with a price tag. We're getting a percentage of the sale of the property after they hire us. So I've adapted his training to show you how you can attract customers. And in the last training, we talked about the core 4 marketing strategies. So if you weren't there for that, you should do that. And in Alex's training, he discusses the key elements of an offer, which are, right, speed, right? How can we do things faster? How can we get somebody a house faster or sell their home faster, right? Risk, how can we ensure, that we're lowering risk for them? Okay, and I'm going to share with you how we do that. Ease, how much can we prep? Can we make things easy for them to accomplish the task, to get them what their dream outcome is? Okay, and then attraction offer mechanisms, right? How can we get them to come to us? How can we attract these people, right? So, and he's got a bunch of different ways that he does that. We've adapted it down here. and you guys can obviously get creative. These are the 3 books that he has. So they're in this outline. If you guys want to look them up and purchase them, they're like $10 on Kindle. I have the physical versions and then I have the online versions because I want to be able to access them whenever. And then I have all these, playbooks from the coaching program that we purchased, which, you'll see in a little bit, my little bonus to you guys for attending this call. So as agents, we essentially have a service where we're only going to get paid at the end, right? So we need to attract these people. Okay, so this is what he talks about, and this is in page, let me see here, on his offers book. I believe it's on page 35 or 36. So this is his first book. Okay. Let's see if it's on 35 or 36. $35. $36. I love his title of his book. He says, "How to Make Offers So Good People Feel Stupid Saying No." So this is what he has on his book. He talks about you create the dream outcome for somebody, right? Like a seller, obviously it's getting top dollar, making it super easy, right? Not having home inspection issues. That's their dream outcome, right? Making the most amount of money. So step 2 is what are all the problems and obstacles in order to accomplish the dream outcome? And 3, you're going to list all the problems as solutions, right? So you're obviously going to be you're going to be the solution, right? You're going to be the one that's going to build an offer, right? To basically stop all of these problems from happening, and your deliverables are going to be the solutions. Okay. So let's break it down. The first thing that he talks about in creating an offer is to understand first that you have to have a good market. So what he means by this is he gives this example of his buddy that was a really, really smart salesperson, but he was selling to newspapers, and the newspaper industry was going down like 25% per year, which is a lot, right? Meaning his audience is going down. And then he gives another example of the ideal situation is for you to have the starving crowd as your market. And he talks about, giving, this hot dog example to his students. And he says, you can have the worst hot dogs, terrible prices, and be in a terrible location. But if you're the only hot dog stand in town and the local college football game breaks out, you're going to sell out, right? So he talks about how like your offer, right, also should be to the right market. And that's important. So remember when the whole seller transfer tax thing happened, right? Well, all these people were making videos about how the seller transfer tax was affecting everybody, but their market was not the $2 million and up market, right? It was primarily people that are under $2 million. It really, the whole market for $2 million and up, and I say $2 million and up is because on the $1 million, the transfer tax was 1%, right, for the buyer, and then it just shifted to the seller. So really the only one that changed dramatically is the $2 million because that went to 2%, 3 million went to 3%, et cetera. So it's this residential market, right? Because a lot of commercial properties were excluded from that. And it was such a small market. It's like 1,700 homes per year, right? And everybody was doing these videos like as if it was affecting the entire market, and it really wasn't. Okay. So if you want to talk to a specific market, you have to make sure that that's a big enough market, and you want to make sure that that market is somebody that wants your services. Okay. So sometimes what we do is we're doing marketing in places where the ideal customer or their target market of a magazine or a specific thing is not your ideal market. I'll give you an example. You wouldn't put a for sale sign, you wouldn't put a for sale ad, right, to Facebook to 20 to 30 or olds, 20 to 40-year-olds. Why? Because the majority of people that are selling their house are over 50 years old, right? Why? Because 42% of people have their house paid off, right? A lot of those people are selling their houses now because they feel like it's a good market and they don't want their high taxes, et cetera, right? And they don't have to worry about the interest rate, right? Because they had a very, very low interest rate, and now there's going to be a higher interest rate if they were to get a loan. These older folks don't have to worry about that. Why? Because they have their house paid off and they're selling their bigger house to buy a smaller house or into a 55 plus community, or potentially going into a continuing care retirement community, right? So if that is your market, right, you want to make sure that you are targeting and going after the market that needs your services the most, right? Because if the net is too wide, it's going to be very hard for you to get your message across, right? So the starving market right now is not sellers. I'm going to give you an example for sellers because I know realtors all want to get listings. So I'm going to break this all down for you for sellers and making an offer to sellers. But the starving market is really the buyers, right? Buyers are desperate for homes, right? They're all losing out on offers, et cetera. So it's not hard, right? And if you structured your offer around that, helping you get off-market opportunities, think about how many people are going to contact you. A lot. Right? When you are at an open house and you tell a buyer that is unrepresented and you tell them, would you like to get on my list of off-market properties that I send out every month? They're going to say yes, right? If they don't have an agent and they're looking for a house, they would love to have an off-market property. And I did that at the last open house that I did, which was about a month ago. And I literally said exactly that. I said, would you like me to update you on any off-market properties and opportunities that we have in the area before they hit the market and before they go on Zillow and everybody else knows about them? And they were like, yes, please. And I signed them up. So my offer, right, if you put it in the context of the Hormozi training, my offer at the open house was, I'm going to give you X. In exchange, you give me your contact information, right? So instead of asking them to sign in, that's how I would do it. That's how I would get their information. In Chatham, last time I did an open house in Chatham, my question to people were, hey, do you have, where are you coming from? A lot of times it's from, either the city or Jersey City or, Hoboken area. And I'm like, do you take the train? Do you use the train for New York City transportation? Yes, I do. I'm going to be going in 3-4 days a week. Awesome. Do you have a list of all the train stations and all the information in regards to the train stations, right? In this area? No, I don't. Would you like that? Yes, I would. Okay. So you create desire and you get, okay, great. Give me your contact information and I'll send it over to you. So I wouldn't ask them to sign in. I'm making them an offer, right? And you're doing that. So those are some examples kind of on the buyer side. So let's break this down. Okay. So why offers beat everything? Create a category of one. Offer that's incomparable to everybody else. You don't want to ever be put in a situation where if it's you versus another cheaper agent, they go with the cheaper agent. Like your offer should be a standout offer. Okay, so when we're creating this offer, we want it to be stand out compared to the competition. Okay, and that sounds obvious, but that's not what most people do. Most people are going into a listing presentation with the same stuff that everybody else has. Right? Oh, I'll do professional photography. I'll list it on MLS. I'll do open houses. I'll do broker open houses, et cetera. We want to go beyond that. Okay. And there's a couple categories of things that you want to implement here. So what's the framework? Value equation, right? Maximize their dream outcome and likelihood of success. And we want to minimize, right, the time, right? And also the effort sacrifice. So the example that Hormozi talks about a lot, because he was in the fitness industry, is how can you get people to be fit faster, for example, right? In our case, right, what we're trying to do is get people to either get to a listing faster for a specific season, or we're trying to get them top dollar faster. And why faster? You have to explain it to the customer. A lot of customers don't get this. Even some realtors don't get it. The faster you get somebody an offer, right, the better it is. Why? Because if the house is sitting on the market for 70 days because you overpriced property and, it took forever to get them the top dollar offer, well, it's going to give them less leverage with the buyers, right? So by you explaining this to people, that's going to be valuable to you to get them offers faster. Okay. Their effort and their sacrifice, right? Obviously, it is very annoying to list your house for sale, right? There's a lot of effort that comes into prepping the house. How can you reduce that? How can you make it very, very easy for them to get their home ready and to, right, clean up, declutter, etc.? This is a problem that they have, and your offer has to be a solution, right? And then their sacrifices, they have to leave the house every time the showing happens, right? So how can we minimize showings but still get them top dollar? How can we minimize their sacrifice of being in this house for the next 3-4 months, having to leave the house all the time for open houses, for showings, etc.? Okay. So what we want to do is do that. And this is what I was saying before. We have exact references to pages on the $100 million offers to kind of go into more detail in each thing. Okay. If you want to learn more about it. Okay. Today we're going to do an outline and I'm going to give you an example. So define the seller dream outcome first. Fast, right? We want it to be predictable, more money net, less hassle, right? List the top seller fears in your offer, right? A slow sale, right? What's wrong with my house? Price uncertainty. I don't know what I'm going to get. What am I going to net, right? How do I know how much money I can buy another house for, right? Repair hassle, right? How can we get rid of that? Showing chaos, the double move situation, right? I need to sell my house to get another house, but I can't get another house until I sell my house, right? So now I'm going to be contingent upon selling that house for this. So how can we solve that? Is there programs for that? Is there bridge financing? Is there contingencies that we can include in our offer, right? Is there a way that we can solve for these items? And then poor communication. The number one reason that sellers do not hire the realtor that they worked with in the past is poor communication. The reason why they won't relist with an expired listing that didn't do a good job is poor communication. Okay, so we need to solve all these fears that sellers have in our offer. Okay, so translate those fears into solutions, which are your delivery vehicles, right? This is how we deliver value. We're going to deliver value by solving their problems, right? That is your value proposition. It's very simple, the framework, and this is how you bring it to market. So you build the core and then you add stack bonuses to it. For example, okay, your core, okay, is full service listing plus pre-market concierge and then launch plan, right? So you're going to have each one of these items as your offer, right? So a single offer is less valuable than the same offer broken into components, right? So for example, at Signature Realty, we've, historically said, okay, for 6% commission, we used to have our 6% listing offer package. We would have all this stuff in it. We would have professional media, drone photography, direct mail. We're doing broker open house. We're doing open houses. We're doing XYZ, all these things, right? A bunch of different things. What he's saying here is, instead of packaging your offer as like one thing, right? And just saying, this is what my offer is. You want to break it down into different labels, right? Like, hey, so I have a full service listing, right? This is all the stuff that I do. I do pre-market concierge to get your property prepped, right? Whether that be vendors, deep cleaning, pre-home inspection, painting, doing some sheetrock if there was a previous leak, maybe do some landscaping, whatever. And then your launch plan is a completely different, component of your offer, right? This is when you do the market blast, you get everybody there, you do the mega open house, you do a coming soon to the mega open house, etc. Right? So just bringing it all down will add a lot more oomph to your offer. Okay. And then you have partner bonuses and negotiated discounts that increase perceived value. For example, if you work with a stager, right, and you're having the sellers pay for that, then you can have a discount associated with that. Or a home inspector that does a pre-inspection for homeowners, there could be a discount for that, right? So that could be part of your bonuses. You can add vendors to it. Okay. And then we want to add scarcity and urgency. Okay. So let's say you cap out at 4 listings per month. There's a capacity there, which also increases your credibility. You say, I'm only taking on 4 listings this month, right? That creates a capacity. Just like when you're selling a course or a program, you're like, all right, we only have X amount of, availability. And the 4 listings per month is good because what it does is it also shows that not just like that you have a capacity, but that you are conscious of the fact that you don't want to just have a million customers, right? You only want to take 4 customers on per month because you have a specific, right, implementation plan for it. And you want to dedicate your time and energy to that homeowner because this is one of the most important sales that they're ever going to make in their whole life, right? So kind of surrounding around that concept of why, right? So create some sort of scarcity. You could do the same thing on the buyer side, right? I only work with a certain amount of buyers, so I can dedicate my time to them, right? A lot of agents don't do this, right? They don't talk about it. They might have a capacity, right? But they don't set a capacity, right? They don't tell anybody about it. So actually making that part of your offer is important because it creates, that scarcity mindset, that scarcity component to your offer. Urgency, right? So you might have a kickoff date, right? So, deadlines drive decisions for people. So you let them know like, hey, I only take 4 listings per month. And, I start all of them on Mondays, right? All of my kickoffs start on Mondays, right? Typically there's 4, et cetera, right? So you can have some sort of urgency factor to get people to sign your agreement. And just from a sales 101 standpoint, guys, if they're not ready yet, that's okay, right? You could say, no problem. I can fill you. I can pencil you in for this Monday in 3 weeks, right? That's not a problem. You say, would there be anything stopping you from getting started on this Monday 3 weeks from now? No, there wouldn't. Okay, great. If they say yes, you say, okay, well, what would that be? And you isolate that objection and you talk about that. Okay. And so you can still use the urgency factor because you're doing it every Monday and now you're penciling them in for a Monday. I hope that makes sense to everybody. Okay. Then you could layer a today only bonus. Hey, today, if you sign the listing agreement, only today, I do this for people that are ready to make a decision, whether you're going to list it now or in 3 weeks, right? If we go through everything today, we're willing to pay for staging for you up to 3 rooms, right? So I know that some of you, and Michelle has done this, will offer staging, but don't offer staging in that way anymore because what we're learning from Hormozi, use it as a today only bonus. Okay. If they sign the documents today, they get this. That way it eliminates them interviewing 3 other brokers that might or might not offer that bonus that they're getting now for taking action. Okay. I know that this is, some of you might think it's salesy or whatever. You just say, look, I'm looking for action takers. I'm building out my calendar. Like I said, I have a capacity of 4, right? And if you sign today, I give you the staging included. Right. So you can put whatever else you want in there. If you don't want to pay for somebody's staging, you could say, I pay for 50% of your staging, or I pay for a deep cleaning. If the house is furnished and they're not going to do staging, you obviously don't want to offer that. You want to say, and for people that sign today, I'm going to give them a one-time free cleaning for their home before we list the property. Right. And then you obviously have a professional cleaning company that you have a deal with that they go in for 4 hours and you pay them X amount of dollars. Okay. Reverse the risk is component number 5 of offers, right? At Signature Realty, that's why we have the easy exit listing guarantee. In this outline, guys, all you have to do is click right here and it takes you right to that document. Okay. So it will take you to the document. You could download it and edit it. Okay. If you have any questions about that, just go to live chat for support. But this reverses the risk. Okay. You can change the timeline here after 90 days. You can make it 30 days, whatever. Depending on the offer that you're making, just make sure that everything is aligned with what you're doing, okay? That will lift your conversion rate as Hormozi teaches us, and you want to stack your guarantees thoughtfully, okay? This is a big guarantee, okay? There could be another guarantee. Hey, we guarantee you top dollar in the first 30 days, or we reduce our commission, or we do this. Okay, whatever it is that you want to do. Proof beats promises. Okay, this is important. If you are an agent that is successful already and you have case studies and you have proof, use that. Show before and afters, right, of a property that was staged versus not staged, right? Before and after of your staging is going to be proof that changes everything. You can purposely take pictures of a property before it's staged, then stage it and take pictures after and then show the before and after and say, look, this is the difference that shows on the market. Okay. Days on market. right? If you have a property that you sold in 7 days, 8 days, 10 days, you can show them proof of that. Over ask stats, that you sold the property over ask and hopefully over the market in that area. If that market typically gets 101% of list price according to area statistics, but you're getting 105%, that means that you are getting 4% more than the average. You can literally prove that by just going to the average stats in the MLS and going to area statistics for that county, look at the bedroom count, and then show that. And you can then promote, I'm getting 4% on average over asking or selling my properties for 4% over the market in this area. That pays for your commission, right? Because your listing side of the commission is probably going to be 3%, right? Or whatever it is that you guys want to charge them. Vendor case studies, right? Cleaning, staging, or, you know, maybe you did some landscaping for a listing because you didn't like the bushes were covering the house, or the, you know, you have a landscaper that comes in and makes sure that, you know, everything is going to increase the curb appeal. Whatever it is that you want to do, you know, maybe it's a gutter company, you know, because there was a hanging gutter or broken this or broken that. You're handling all the problems for them. So you could show before and after pictures, and proof raises perceived likelihood of success. Okay. This is, let me show you here. Where's it? Okay, so this is one of the playbooks, guys, that I got. So as my bonus to you for attending this training, I've included it here. I've taken pictures of it all, and you have the proof playbook right here. So this proof playbook that nobody has access to other than the people that purchased the coaching program, you have it right here. Okay, this will help you have a proof checklist of what you want to do. He gives a bunch of examples of how to do it, right? So it creates the most amount of urgency, et cetera. You can click right on here and that'll help you. Okay, so now we take all those concepts, right? We take all these concepts and we're going to create an example, right? This is where your execution will come in. You can edit it whatever way you want. But these are all the different things that we just discussed that now we're going to put into an example. So we have to have a hook. That's number one. Homeowners in Morristown. If I get your home market ready in 7 days, avoid repair chaos and help you net more with less hassle, would you want to see how? Right? And just hear me out here for a little bit, okay? Set the frame. Okay. I don't compete with standard service. That was supposed to be bolded. I don't compete on standard service. I built a category of one offer designed to sell faster with less work for you. Okay. Make it about them. Okay. Here's some more information on it on page 32 of $100 million offers if you want to pick it up on Kindle. Okay. The core, right? This is the core of it. So you have your hook, right? You're setting the frame, and now you have your core. Here's the plan: pre-market concierge plus a 7-day launch sprint plus full service listing. You get a single point of contact, weekly offer readiness reports, and price positioning updates, so you're never guessing. Okay, so you're basically solving some of those problems that they had and they were feeling in order to get their ideal outcome. And then we're going to stack bonuses, right? So plus you're going to get your show ready kit, your contractor black book, right? For landscaping, for staging, for this. You're going to have a vendor black book of all the people that you use for different things, and a Move Smooth concierge, okay? Which is basically your program to help them find another place, right? Et cetera. Whether it be a rental, whether it be finding a 55 plus or CCRC, whatever it is. Each exists to save you time and remove stress, okay? Risk reversal. If we don't get full asking, okay, full asking price or over offer in 14 days, we reduce our commission by 50%. This is just an offer. Obviously, if you end up listing a house, right, you want to price it right. And if you do everything that you're supposed to do, we all know that you're going to get an asking or over asking offer. So you reducing your commission by 50% is not really going to affect you as long as you had the price correct. Okay, so be careful with that to not overprice a property and promise this. Okay, so and then if they want to go to a different recommended price, you could say, okay, that's fine, but I would have to change my risk, but I do have an easy exit listing for you, right? So if for some reason you're not satisfied, you can cancel anytime in the first 30 days for an easy exit listing agreement, which you guys saw up there. So again, you're making a risk reversal offer, right? You're saying, look, if I don't do this, this is how I get penalized, or this is how you can get out of our agreement. I'm not going to lock you in for 6 months like most people do. That's one of their things that they worry about, right? That's one of the things that people worry about, is getting locked into a contract for 6 months. And you could talk about that, right? You could be like, do you not want to be locked into a contract for 6 months with a realtor? I have a solution for that. At Signature Realty, we have what's called the easy exit listing agreement, which you can fire us after 30 days if you're not satisfied with the work, right? So you're handling those problems, okay? Which they might not even know that that is a possibility, okay? Because they haven't sold a house in 15, 20 years, okay? Okay, scarcity urgency, the next component. I cap at 4 listings a month to protect execution. My next kickoff is Monday. Do you want this slot or the next one, right? You don't need to do this last sentence. I just threw it in there as like, you know, an additional urgency factor. And then the ask, when would you want your first open house so I can prepare the marketing blitz, right? So if you're doing a listing presentation, obviously, right, you would ask this question. If you are doing it on a landing page, it's going to be a little bit different, okay? And I've created a bunch of examples for you guys here with how to actually do this, right? Because you might say, well, how do you deliver this framework? In what way? Are we doing this via email? Are we doing this on a landing page? Are we doing this in person? Are we doing this over the phone, right? Like, how are we doing this, right? And of course, you want to create your listing presentation with this framework, okay? So definitely when you have your listing, you want to prepare it in this stacked framework, okay? So you have your bonuses, you have different things, and you're going to be able to, you know, adapt your bonuses on the fly when you are at a listing presentation. Because if they don't need staging, again, you might do cleaning. If their house is spotless and they don't need cleaning, maybe they'll get insulted if you offer them cleaning, right? Then you can have staging of their furniture and rearrangement of their furniture to make the spaces look bigger, okay? You can say, I can paint one room for you, and this is perfect for you because you said you wanted to remove that wallpaper in that room. We can get the wallpaper removed and, you know, paint that. That could be one of your bonuses. So you want to adapt those things to it. Like if they say, well, I got to clean the gutters before I put the house up for sale, right? It's going to be a few $100s to clean the gutters, right? It's going to be the same amount of money to do that, you know, than to clean the house, right? So you can now offer that. So you have to kind of be a little bit strategic on the fly with your listing presentation once you find out a little bit more about what it is that they want. But the framework is here. Yeah, I hope you guys are understanding the framework and you're just inserting, right, the different things in there. Okay, obviously your easy exit listing agreement doesn't need to change, right? Your scarcity urgency factor doesn't really need to change because you can book them for a Monday in the future. And then this is just a trial close question to ask. When would you want your first open house so I can prepare the marketing blitz, right? Because I got to get you out at least a week or two in advance. Okay, so now we're going to talk about, you know, what are the different ways that this kind of gets inserted to, right? This framework, okay? Because the delivery of it is not always going to be your listing presentation. The idea is to create an offer for people that don't know you yet to attract those customers and then get them to opt in, either, you know, book a Calendly link, or maybe you have ManyChat and you're getting them to DM a word, free staging, or, you know, whatever it is. Okay. So there's different ways that you can do this. And I've laid it all out. This might be a little overwhelming for some of you that aren't like super familiar with making offers. Okay. But that's why I've created an outline for you. It's all broken down with references to every single thing that you need. This one is $100 million leads, page 162, for example. And it's got some other, you know, mentions on it on the other pages though. Okay. So this offer is to book appointments, right? This one that we're going over now. The primary delivery is paid direct response ads to a simple landing page with a calendar, right? So basically you're going to do an ad like on Facebook or even Google keyword research, and then they're going to end up on a landing page and they're going to be able to put in their information and book a calendar. Book an appointment through a calendar with you. Okay. Mirror the exact same message in email, text, DMs, and calls, right? It's one message and you could change it for all the different placements. Okay. So let's go over here. Use the same core copy and call to action in each placement. For example, paid ad. Check this out, guys. It's all broken down for you. Paid ad. Right? The video is maybe 15 to 30 seconds in your ad, and here's your script. Hey, Morristown homeowners, we'll get your home market ready in 7 days. You can avoid all the repair chaos, and we'll help you net more money with less hassle. Tap to book your 15-minute pricing and prep call today, no obligation, and we cap at 4 listings per month, and our next kickoff is Monday. So make sure to put in the information below. right? So that's an example of a paid ad video, very, very short. That's what you're going to put in the headline and what you're going to say. And then you can say, oh, sorry, this is your headline, 7-day launch sprint on your landing page, market ready, less hassle, more net to you. Okay, you can edit this as you guys feel. I would probably edit it just a little bit as I'm saying it out loud, right? Like net to you. CTA, book your 15-minute pricing and prep call. That's great. And if you guys aren't using Calendly, okay, you should check it out. That's where you can create calendar appointments and then copy a link and then paste it wherever you want. Okay. And then people can click on it and book an appointment with you. Their name, email, phone number will be there. You'll automatically get a message, right? It'll get added to your calendar if you set it up that way in the settings, and you'll be good to go. Email to sphere or past clients. Subject, 7-day market ready plan, 4 slots. Okay. So this is a way that you can email everybody. Okay, in the body, just repeat your hook, bullet the points, the bonuses, and then have your call to action button, okay, which could be your Calendly link or a link to your landing page. Okay, if you don't know what a landing page is, it's a single page website with no tabs or anything. It's a single page landing website that is basically meant to get people to opt in. Okay, that's why they call it a landing page. You land on that, you watch the video, you read it, and then you put in the information or you book an appointment. Quick question. Want your 7-day trial plan to get market ready fast and avoid repair chaos? That's your text or DM example. Again, you guys can edit this the way you want. Read up on it a little bit more right here. Cold outreach, call or voicemail. Here's an example of that. Headline for a direct mail flyer. You have an example of that right here. And then, of course, you're going to just put in all of your other stuff. At an open house, you can have a handout, 1 or 7-day lunch plan, scan for the calendar. This is perfect for neighbors that are coming, right? You're going to meet neighbors if you're doing the open house correctly. And at your open house, you can have people, right, get your 7-day launch plan. That's kind of like a lead magnet, right? And then in your listing presentation opener, right, use your exact script the way that you want it, right? You can say, do you want Monday's kickoff or the next one? Right? Or you can say, when would you want your first open house to be for your marketing blitz? It's a trial close question to get them to say, oh, I want this. Instead of saying yes or no, right? You're not saying, would you like to hire me? Yes or no, right? You're going to say, do you want Monday's kickoff, right? This one coming up, or would you like it on the next one, right? So that way you actually get an answer and hopefully you get a yes, okay? Them giving you a date is a yes. Okay, follow-up, obviously we all know follow-up is important. And then your next step, choose the paid direct response ads and the primary method that you're going to do to market this, right? Obviously you can start doing this, guys, on Instagram and all that stuff. And you don't need a landing page, right? You can just use ManyChat, right? To send them information with your Calendly link. You could literally prompt them. If you don't have ManyChat and you don't want to get it, you could prompt them to go to your Calendly link in your bio, right? I mean, this is very simple. Use it, leverage it, make it happen, and implement this stuff, because the idea of us doing this every single week is not to just learn, but it's to go through it and continue implementing each one of these items. I'm going to share this document again on the outline. Hopefully this was helpful to you guys. It really breaks it down kind of in detail for you. And we're testing this. We're going to be testing this with our first time homebuyer seminars that I want to do every 2 weeks. And we're doing all this stuff. We're using the same exact framework. We're doing ads, we're doing emails, we're marketing to all these people that we have in our database, and we're doing the same thing with the headline, with the emails. Here's the offer, creating that urgency stack. And we're not used to doing this, right? So having this framework is super, super helpful. And for those of you that want to learn about commercial real estate in 2 days at njrasn.com, we are doing our how to purchase your first commercial investment property live at the Westwood in Garwood, New Jersey, October 8th from 6 to 10 p.m. You can get your tickets at njresn.com. It includes a full buffet dinner. I'll put that in the chat as well. And hopefully I could see you guys there. It's a great place to network. It's a great place to learn and, get opportunities from investors and, different types of investor professionals that are going out there. So thank you guys. I will see you soon. And if you need any help, hit us up on live chat and we'll be there for you. Thank you.